Well, good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. I'm Mayor Mike Winder, and welcome to West Valley City Hall. You know, as the revelations of problems with our neighborhood narcotics unit have come to our attention and that of the public, we're all very shocked, disappointed, and frustrated. Our city is undergoing major steps to help identify what went wrong, correct it, and to make sure that such behaviors do not happen again. I stand here today with Acting Police Chief Anita Schwimmer, and she has stepped up to lead at a very difficult time and has put in untold hours in the recent weeks with tremendous professionalism. I thank her and her fellow officers who continue to serve and to protect. I also stand here with our City Manager, Wayne Pyle. It's important to remember that in our city's council-manager form of government, the police chief and all department heads report to the city manager, who in turn reports to me and the city council. Consequently, Mr. Pyle has played a critical role in helping us deal with the challenges we face today inside of the West Valley City Police Department. You know, there are 5 key steps, I figured, to get our police department back to work, back on track. And I want to take some time today to highlight what these are and where we are in the process. Number 1, we must identify and root out any and all impropriety. I'm pleased at the aggressiveness of our city's internal investigation. It was this investigation that identified the specific problems that we need to address. I welcome the FBI's independent investigation to make sure that our team did not miss anything. I appreciate the District Attorney's Office looking closely at all the cases involved. Between all of these investigations, all shortcomings will be made known, and we will act on them. In the meantime, just last week we placed the entire neighborhood narcotics unit on administrative leave until these issues are sorted out. Individuals will be held accountable for improper actions. Any necessary corrective action will be taken. Number 2, we need stronger independent oversight. West Valley City has one of Utah's only 2 independent Citizens Professional Standards Review Board and has done great work through the years. But it needs to be empowered as a stronger and more transparent board. Today, in just an hour or so in our City Council meeting, we'll be instructing the staff to put in additional guidelines to improve this police review board. We are incorporating best practices from cities around the nation to ensure that we have rigorous training, clear policies, and published reports. Number 3, we must exhibit the humility to learn from others and improve. To this end, we announced on Friday that we have commissioned a special review panel made up of a former district attorney, a retired judge, and legal and police expertise to review each and every case that has been dismissed by the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office and the U.S. Attorney. We asked them to provide us with their expert opinions on what we can learn from these cases. Today, I am also pleased to announce that as city leaders, we are working on the creation of a Police and Public Safety Advancement Task Force, which will be charged with examining potential partnerships and collaborations with other law enforcement agencies and to seek best practices in the field. Details of this task force will be put together in the weeks ahead. You know, we've had public safety leaders from all around the state that have reached out with their willingness to help in our situation, and conversations with them will continue. We appreciate the many resources and options offered. Number 4, we will have new police department leadership. It is critical that we have leadership at the top of our department that views with seriousness any breach of protocol, that has a firm handle on what is going on in the department, and that can quickly correct anything that is out of line. To this end, we are currently underway with a nationwide search for a new police chief. This important job has been posted for nearly a month and has already generated great interest from around the state and the country. We intend to continue to gather resumes of outstanding law enforcement leaders through the end of May. We encourage anyone with interest in the qualifications to apply. From this competitive pool, a rigorous selection process will winnow the list, vet top candidates, and review the finalists. Ultimately, a new police chief will be chosen and sworn in this summer. This leader will help us set a tone in the West Valley City Police Department, and I am confident our best days are ahead. And number 5, we must remember the big picture. Despite the difficult headlines and probing investigations, it's important to remember that the cases being dismissed are related to a single unit, to a handful of officers, and that the remaining 180 members or so of our police department continue to be engaged in top-notch police work day in and day out. This is the team that is helping to reduce crime in our city. The total number of violent property crimes combined was 11% lower last year in West Valley City than 4 years ago before I took office as mayor. Yet our city population has continued to grow in that time. Police calls at Valley Fair Mall are down 75% in that time period, even though traffic there is up dramatically. We hate to see even one case dismissed, ever. But let us remember that this team sees several thousand cases successfully prosecuted each year, and that this year will be no exception. In conclusion, West Valley City will not stand down, but we will stand up. And the city has had its share of challenges through the years, and each time we have worked through them. We do not like the situation we're in today, of course, but we're working hard in so many ways to get through it. Our residents can have confidence that their city leadership is doing everything they can. With federal, district, and internal investigations, we can be assured that no other police department in the state will have been as thoroughly scrutinized this year as ours. With the changes we're making to our Professional Standards Review Board today, we will soon have the finest independent citizens review committee in the Mountain West. With the resources of neighboring agencies, a special review panel, a best practices task force, and a new police chief, I am confident that we can serve the residents, businesses, and visitors to our city better than ever. I'll open it up to a few questions if there are any today.
Have you picked any members of the review committee yet?
You know, the question was, have we picked any members of the review committee? We have a great Professional Standards Review Board, and we intend that they will continue to serve for the foreseeable future. But there may be some change in the makeup of that board and some of the rules governing that board that we'll be discussing in our City Council study meeting here in a half hour.
What about the special review panel?
The special review panel, Mr. Pyle, do you want to address that one?
We have, as we mentioned last week, started the search and looked for those who would be willing and able to help us with that special review panel. Currently, we have probably 3 out of 4 of the members that we initially looked at to sit on that panel identified. We've not finalized the agreement yet with them, but we're very close.
Is that, you have one of the attorneys taken care of? You go to any specifics beyond what the type of job descriptions are?
No, I'm not, until we get who they are and who's set up exactly on it, I'd rather not name the positions or the names. Thank you.
The independent review board that was already overseeing things, you say you were going to make it stronger and more transparent. What was it lacking that it wasn't strong enough to kind of catch what was going on?
You know, as we looked at our Professional Standards Review Board, they had the police department that would help make nominations on who would serve on that board. They were not publishing reports, frankly, nor had we asked them to at this point. There are some transparency issues there with statistics being reported annually, and we took a good look, and I applaud our city manager and his team, our city attorney. They looked at best practices around the country and saw, okay, what are Professional Standards Review Boards doing, and what aren't they doing, what are we doing? And so we saw some gaps there, and we'll have a discussion today in our city council meeting momentarily to help fill some of those.
Mayor, if I may.
Excuse me, just to follow up.
Can I add to that? I just want to add comment to that question. I think it's important to stress that the Professional Standards Review Board was doing the job exactly as it was asked to do before it was set up, or I'm sorry, before the council asked us to make these changes. So what we see these changes as being is an extra layer of improvement, so to speak, or as the mayor mentioned, transparency to that board.
It appears as though that SimGill prosecutes better than 90% of his cases successfully. You're talking roughly 100 cases, 88 of which are under local jurisdiction right now. What do you say to people that say, you know, there are potentially 75, 80 individuals walking the streets free of prosecution because of this?
As I said at the beginning, we share this frustration. We share this. We are upset as elected officials, and we want to make sure things like that do not happen again. But yeah, we share the public's frustration on that, and one of the reasons we have that special panel we're putting together is to look at those cases and make sure that we can learn from best practices there, and that things like this will not happen again.
Have you had frank discussions with the leaders of the police department to say, look, I want to make sure this doesn't happen again, and what have those discussions been like?
Let's just say there have been numerous frank discussions at all levels in the past few weeks and months.
Do you think the Fed's dropping on the cases, including one today, reaffirms the DA's decision to drop as many as he has?
Perhaps. That's one of the things we'll have the panel look at. You know, we're here today not because we're saying there aren't problems or there aren't significant issues, but because we're saying there are obviously issues out there. and that we have set up numerous panels and task forces and investigations to identify those and to deal with them.
Can you respond to the Willard family's notice of intent to sue even before the DAs responded to whether the shooting is justified?
When it comes to matters of litigation, we're not in a position in a press conference, obviously, to respond to those.
Can you say why it is the city intends to countersue?
That's a surprise to me. I haven't heard that we were intending on pursuing, so don't have an answer to that question. We'll have to get further explanation later, I guess.
We're still waiting for a response to our records request on the notice of claim. Is it a wrongful death lawsuit that they're seeking? And if so, are there other allegations beyond that?
Yeah, again, on matters of litigation, we won't address those here. We will say, though, with the officer-involved shooting, that the 5 months that we were waiting for the investigation of that to go through, as elected officials, we were impatient as we remained the public. And we asked our staff to do that as quickly as possible. But we stressed that we do not want speed to ever compromise thoroughness and accuracy. And so it did take 5 months, but that has been for the past month or so in the district attorney's office to make a ruling on.
When the unit was disbanded in December, was that as a result of what Mr. Pyle has previously identified, the mishandled evidence, GPS trackers without a proper warrant? Were they disbanded after you discovered all those things?
I'm not going to, once again, thanks, we're not going to comment on the particulars of the investigation. I will say that as we do a thorough investigation in any situation like this, and I believe we've made this point at a number of levels, both within the police department and myself as manager, and I think that the mayor did as well, that when we do an investigation, when we see the proper steps or need for changes, for stopping, for taking a look, for whatever that might be within the unit, the department, or at the individual level, we take those actions. And at that time, we felt that was appropriate action.
When did you learn, though, about the points that you've previously made?
Once again, that's specific to the investigation, so I'm not going to answer that question.
You said all of these cases are related to just one single unit, but how can the public be reassured that this kind of behavior has not spread to other units within the department?
Well, again, the internal investigation's been looking, but also that's one of the reasons we invited the FBI in, to take a good look at that and to make sure that it is confined to one unit, and if there's anything out of shape, we want to know about it, we want to take action on it.
Do you know of a timeline with regard to the other investigations and when they will conclude or how those are proceeding?
We'll need to let those agencies speak for themselves. As you know, we did complete our one internal investigation a few days back, and I was pleased that our staff promptly reported on those findings, uncomfortable as they were.
Can you talk about the Public Safety Advancement Task Force? Like, who would be a member of that force? How many of them there would be?
Yes, that was an idea that came up in our study meeting as city council members and staff last week, and we've asked our staff to begin to put that together. The initial proposal called for maybe having the mayor on it, a couple council members, perhaps the city manager, city attorney, the chief. We're still looking at different ways that would be composed, but it would be an internal group that would look at, again, different partnerships with other agencies, best practices, and just be a way for us as elected officials to work with our team to take a good hard look to make sure we're going the right direction.
Can you expand on potential partnerships? And that doesn't mean you have a unified contract for some of your services, does it?
You know, when we say potential partnerships, at this point we're keeping our eyes open and looking at all things. We've done a lot of things in the past through the Valley Police Alliance, and we've had neighboring agencies talk to us, Unified talk to us. We've looked at a lot of different options, and sometimes those options are less maybe switching or contracting, but more looking at how we can improve our own internal services. As the second largest city in the state, we have a large department, and yet, as I mentioned in point 3, we need to be humble and open to learning from others. We do need to have our study sessions go on here in this very room shortly, so let's take one last question.
Do you plan to refile any of the possible cases that have been dismissed?
First, let me emphasize and stress that we do support, and we're working with District Attorney Gill's office, and I trust in his expertise as to make those decisions. That said, we're not ruling out anything at this time. We want to make sure that every look is given to every opportunity to prosecute any kind of case, which I'm sure, and I know from conversations with District Attorney Gill, he agrees with.
So
So it's possible.
Possible.
Okay, thank you all for coming today, and again, we have a lot of things going on to deal with these issues, and the public can rest assured that West Valley City is in control of a lot of these issues, and we're working with our partners, and we are moving forward. Thanks again for coming today.